coordinator, quarterbacks coach Garrett Riley. Wide receiver coach Tyler Grisham will head to the right side.
Awesome.
How we doing?
All right. It's good to be here. I told my friends yesterday, guess what I'm doing tomorrow? Football. I said, well, it's year round, right?
About that time.
Coach,
About
is
that
it year
time.
round?
Yeah, it is.
what are some early returns that you're hearing about Ian Schieffelin, and how exciting is it for you, that project for him to tight end?
I'm excited to be around him. You know, I mean, we haven't been able to do much with him this summer. I'm just trying to hear from the other guys what they think about him and all that. But it sounds like he's picking some things up and know he can be an asset. So I'm excited to have a guy like that for sure.
What is it about his skill set, his mentality that translates well to football?
I mean, I just think the way he played basketball, right? Kind of gritty. Obviously, he's big. He's huge for our sport. You know, saw some of his high school tape and things that he did in high school. So, you know, some things aren't going to be totally foreign to him or new to him. So, yeah, I'm excited to kind of really see it with my own eyes.
Playing football at this level is hard. What's realistic for Ian Schieffelin? I mean, is it realistic that he can be impactful?
Oh, yeah, I think for sure. I mean, there's a handful of guys I can think about right now in the last 5-10 years or so that have kind of had a similar story. Played basketball and went and played football for a year and, you know, caught balls or sacked a quarterback or whatever it is, playing tight end, defensive end is what you typically see them play. You know, so I think, you know, how much, a lot of it's just going to be what he can handle, you know, and what makes sense for us because we got a lot of other good players around him. So that'll be the fun part for us as coaches.
Where can this offense go with a 4-year quarterback leading the
I mean, I think the sky's the limit, you know. I mean, that's what we're preaching to our guys is I just think there's so much more there, you know, for him, for us offensively, and for our team. There's just so much there, and there's still so much room for growth. So that's what's exciting, you know. So that's what these guys are chasing. They're chasing that.
Coach, with some time removed from last season, what have you seen as like maybe, you know, the strength of that offense last year? Where did you see that? Okay, we can maybe grow in this area this year.
I mean, every team's different. You know, I mean, I know we're returning a lot of guys, but you got some new pieces and some critical places where there's some opportunity for some different people. So, I mean, it's always a different team, even though you're returning a bunch of faces that have played a lot of snaps together, you know, but I think the different parts of the season, there were some different strengths a year ago. And so I think now kind of understanding what our identity is a little bit earlier, figuring out some of these new pieces, like I mentioned, you know, with the opportunity that they're going to have, I think that's going to be the critical thing to kind of identify early.
Coach, you mentioned there's still being a lot there from last year to this year. What have you learned as a coordinator on how you can unlock those new potentials year after year to kind of take that offense to the next step?
I just think it's for us as coaches, I think it's always, again, trying to identify, like, what do we do really, really well? You know, who are your players? Who are your playmakers? What do we do really well? Maybe what are our deficiencies, you know, that you can hopefully strengthen or stay away from and not put yourself in a bind. So I think those are things that you could probably pick up on a little bit more on as you do this and as you play call and all those things.
History says freshman running backs can have some success. What are you going to see from Gideon and what can he do for this team this year?
Yeah, I mean, those guys, big opportunity in that room. You know, from what I've seen with Gideon in the spring, I thought he had a really, really good spring. You know, I think it's a freshman that's learning everything from a mental standpoint of handling what we require from that position. But skill set wise, his demeanor, his presence, you know, I think I've said this before, like, he's just a kid that's not really fazed by much. You know, I think you can really coach him, and I think he really listens and wants to learn, wants to be really, really good. So he's got a lot of the intangibles on top of his skill set that we love. But the intangible part was what sticks out to me thinking about his spring.
Which everybody knows the level of production that you have coming back at wide receiver this season. But guys like Tyler Brown and Cole Turner, guys who have battled injuries, but have shown glimpses of greatness. What can we expect of them to contribute this season?
Yeah, I mean, that's how we want this room. I mean, we want a deep room where you can rotate guys. It's a long season. And, you know, that's my background. That's what I came from offensively, just what I got brought up in is, is you have 6, 8 guys that play a lot, and you rotate them a lot. And what that does is it allows you to be fresh more throughout the game, so that you're strong in the fourth quarter when it really counts to finish. And then from a big picture standpoint of being fresh as much as you can throughout the season. And so that's what we have a chance to do with that group. And that's definitely my expectation with that group. So excited about all those guys. I think it could be a really deep room, where we can have depth that we truly trust, and a bunch of dependable guys that can win some one-on-one matchups or be in the right spots, make plays. So that's the expectation from that room for sure.
How would you describe this wideout group?
What's
How
that?
would you describe this wideout group?
That's a great question. I mean, obviously, I think we got some explosive people. I think we've got good variety. Like, I think we got a mixture in that room. We don't just have the same guy over and over again. So I like that about our room. So yeah, I mean, I think it's explosive. I think it's a hungry room. I think it's a room that has matured a lot. Just since my time here at Clemson. I think it's a very mature room, and I think our leadership in that room is probably as good as it's been, definitely since I've been here.
On that note, how helpful is it to have a guy like Antonio Williams back?
Yeah, I mean, he's a stud. I think his growth, his maturity, his development. Obviously he's had a good skill set all along, but I mean, this guy's gotten better and better and better, and that's a testament to Clemson and how we pride ourselves in development, but it's a huge testament to him and his individual work. So I'm super proud of him and couldn't be more excited for Antonio.
Coach Riley, heading into the season, you're setting goals for the team, especially on the offensive side. How granular are you getting? Like, we need to average this many points per game, X number of yards in the passing game.
None of that. None of it.
What goals are you setting?
Yeah, I mean, we have things from explosives to completing the ball at a high rate, not necessarily yardage and touchdowns and all this stuff that, if we take care of kind of the more important things, when you really break it down, those things will take care of themselves, right? So not bogging our players down with just so much information and stats and just all the stuff that really doesn't matter to kids. That's what I think we do well here, and that's what we're preaching to our guys.
How much does your relationship with Cade off the field, just about Cade the human, help with your relationship?
I think it's huge. I mean, obviously that dynamic and that relationship is one of the more dynamic relationships in sports, I would say. And so, yeah, I mean, we have a great relationship. I think just the trust level and being comfortable when I have to get after them or correct them, critique them, coach them. I mean, all those things. I just think it helps build the trust factor. And so anyway, I think we got a strong relationship, and I think he's at a point where he kind of knows what I'm about to say before I even say it, right? I mean, that's kind of where we're at now.
Talk about his growth from his sophomore year to his junior year. It's pretty significant. How much more room is there to keep taking strides? Are they giant strides now, or are they just smaller?
No, I mean, I think there's still a big area of growth. I really do. And I think he knows that. And again, that's what we're all chasing. That's what he's chasing. And, I just think the sky's the limit for that kid. I really do. And so I think there's a lot of room for improvement for sure.
Can you talk about the balance of rushing and passing and Cade's ability to do both successfully?
I mean, yeah, that's the X factor, right? I mean, when you have an element like that a quarterback can have +1 runs or just create on his own or zone read or whatever it is, that's a significant problem for defenses, and it's going to help you throughout the season. So, I mean, he's a guy that made a big jump from year 1 to year 2 just with the run game part and what we asked him to do. And I just think physically, as he's matured and gotten better as well, that's been a big contributing factor to that. So, I think he's in a much better spot physically, even just as I see him around now, than he was a year ago. And as he should be, he's a year older, he's used to it. Putting on weight and strength and all those things are going to help him.
Do those expectations for him in the run game vary year to year based on personnel, or is it kind of set standard year after year?
I mean, some of it is always going to come back to personnel and kind of what you have and what you need. But I think the big picture is, hey, you need this guy to be healthy and start for us every game, right? So, I mean, there's a fine line of your quarterback taking a bunch of hits if you're asking him to run the ball. So you got to be mindful of that. So you got to pick your spots and utilize him the best way you can, but also keep in mind the big picture. You got to keep this guy healthy for the length of the season.
You talked about the jump from year 1 to year 2. Can you talk about that for TJ Moore and Bryant Wesco Jr., what you're expecting from them, how they're doing so far?
Yeah, I know they had great years as true freshmen, but I just think it'll be night and day different for them. I think physically they're already in a much better place than they were a year ago, and they would say the same thing. I mean, that's not even close. And I think too, just the muscle memory of what we do and not having to think and just now going and playing and reacting more consistently for those guys is going to be a big jump for them. And then I just think from a technical standpoint, those guys know what they had to get better at, what we asked them to do, and so, they're trying to master their craft as well. So I think all those things combined, I just think it's going to be night and day different for them.
You've talked about the goals that you have and don't have, but 44% on the third downs last year and 60% in red zone touchdowns. Is there a percentage sweet spot where things are working as intended?
Oh yeah, I mean, us as coaches have all these stats and goals and things that we can, emphasize with our guys. So, I mean, there's certainly some situational things that we know you got to always strive to be better at. But just in general, like his question earlier, I mean, we don't bog them down with just a bunch of stat stuff.
With CD in the spring, he was challenged to make a big jump, and it seemed like he made significant strides. Where did you see the biggest improvement for him?
I think this spring, I think just really seeing it start to slow down for him. It was probably the first time I really felt like it was really starting to slow down from a communication standpoint to what he's supposed to be looking at from reads and then just simply executing the play. To me, I know that's kind of a big picture deal, but this was probably the first time that I really saw that. So expect that to take another big step here in fall camp and as we get into the season. But I certainly saw that this spring with him.
Here's the takeaways from Chris Denson in the first spring. It seemed like, at least in the spring game, and his poise was what kind of jumps out with him.
He is. He's a poised kid. He's not rattled. He's not fazed by much. If he is, he doesn't show it very well, or he doesn't show it. And I think he's just a kid that wants to be great. He's put in a ton of work this summer, so I'm excited about him and his development. But yeah, I mean, he's some of the intangible things is definitely what you love about Chris Denson.
You guys have continued to grow together and share music and stuff like that on the podcast, I noticed, but it's something that people might not know about him that you've gotten to know that you think is pretty cool.
That's a great question. We go back and forth with music quite a bit. We got the Texas roots, kind of got that connection with the Texas country scene, but it's gone to more kind of rock, kind of this whole Australian bro jam rock stuff is going on. So we go back and forth with that. He's got an interest in golf. Obviously being in this part of the country, there's some unbelievable golf, and he's kind of got the golf bug, or did this spring and summer playing a little bit. So that's been fun to kind of talk to him about and different opportunities there. But yeah, I mean, we always talk about food and barbecue and Mexican food from back home and all that stuff. So there's a lot of commonality, I guess, with some things outside of football for sure.
You've seen him doing stuff like during the winter, sledding down the hill, fun stuff to let off some steam and relax a little bit. What are some of the conversations that you have with balancing all these expectations, big time quarterback with still a college kid, and have some fun with it?
You got to be yourself and be a kid and enjoy this time. It's not going to last forever, as he knows, and I think that's what's great about him and his personality is he is who he is, and he's got a lot of conviction and himself and things that he enjoys, his family, spending time with others. That's something that I think he does a really good job of, and it's important to him. So, yeah, I think that work work-life balance and all that is important for a college kid, especially of his caliber, and I think he does a great job of that.
Last year we knew that he was spending a lot more time off the field with his line, building those relationships, hanging out with the guys. Is there anything that he's done this year leadership-wise to take that even next step, or where have you seen him grow?
I'm sure he has. I just think it's more natural to him. I mean, I think that's always the interesting thing to see when you have a starting quarterback that's new. Is sometimes those quarterbacks have to feel like they need some credibility before they can really do some of these things with their teammates, and so that's always an interesting dynamic when you're starting out. And so now he's just at a place, I think, where it's more natural and it really gets around others and not just offensive guys, getting around defensive players, and just really trying to bring everybody together as good as he can.
What's your vision? Kind of helped you a little bit. Being used to being in Clemson too, you guys being able to share stories and stuff, has it helped you as well?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, really just everybody here, but yeah, I mean, I think just from us coming from a different state and moving, basically somewhat halfway across the country, to come here and so yeah, I mean, he's opened my eyes to a few things, different opportunities here that I really didn't know about. That's been great. So, yeah, he's been a great resource that way for sure.
And you can share stories about Terry Black's barbecue.
That's a great one for sure. But there's been great barbecue out here. I've enjoyed it. Enjoyed trying different things and getting around, trying different spots. So it's been fun. It's been fun for our family.
What do you see from a guy like Tyler Brown, who's battled some injuries? Kind of a similar story to what Antonio Williams went through his sophomore year.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, did he rebound in an amazing junior year? Can Tyler be in that same mood? They seem pretty similar.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Tyler's he's a playmaker, right? I mean, this guy, it's just kind of has that instinct and that spark about him where he can just create and make things happen. So excited about him. He's healthy and playing fast. Thought he had a really, really, really good spring. That was consistent. It wasn't a deal where I felt like he was kind of up and down and really good one day and just okay the other. Like, I thought he was very, very consistent, and I just think his whole approach has been, about what Antonio's was the year before, like you mentioned, and I think, I'm sure, obviously, Tyler saw that. He saw how Antonio had to work and what it meant for him to not play and be out and be injured, and it's tough. And, so I'm sure that was a little bit of an eye-opening thing for Tyler as he saw that from afar with Antonio.
When you have guys that come in like Moore and Wesco with the big expectations and for the most part deliver on those, how do you make sure they keep getting better? Because there's a lot of room for growth. They did have some places last year where they looked the part.
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, that's what we do. I mean, we're going to push these guys and we're going to keep them humble, that's for sure. I mean, I think that's something our staff and Coach Sweeney does really, really well, and challenging and motivating and keeping it real with them, and I think that's what we stress with those guys. There's a ton of room for improvement and things that they can be a lot more valuable for our team, and so I think those guys are attacking it the right way.
What do you see from a third-year starter, leading your offense? What do you think that can unlock for this offense too, just taking this step?
Just he's got experience, right? Getting you in and out of maybe some good plays or bad plays a little bit more often. I think creating some things when maybe it's not there, that we saw in flashes with Cade last year, of really just creating and making some unbelievable plays that were probably broken. So I just think those things probably tend to happen a little bit more with guys that know what we're about, know what we're doing, totally confident and comfortable, and our philosophy and the way we attack. And so I just think that's what we're looking for this year, to see our offense, elevated, and that's what our guys are chasing.
What did you learn from last year? You go on the road, you open against an elite defense, an elite football team. Got another elite football team coming here. The offense struggled with that game. Georgia had a lot to do with it. What did you learn in that game that can help you in this year's opener? Just kind of the learning curve, but at the same time, you got to be ready to go right away.
Oh yeah, I mean, game ones are always tricky a little bit. You know, I mean, it's game one. It's figuring out the other team, especially nowadays with portal and rosters change so much. So there's some of that stuff. So I mean, game ones are always a little tricky. You know, offensively, you're trying to get in a rhythm and get going and all that stuff. So certainly some things we learned from that. You know, I think the biggest thing that our guys probably learned from that a year ago was you know, you got to take it to them, and you can't just kind of sit there and wait for it to happen. You know, and I think we just had a little too much of that, and for sure in a game one. And I think we changed that pretty quickly as we went into game two, game three, and got going with our season a year ago. So I think they learned the lesson pretty quickly and applied it. And now us knowing that and having that experience from last year that we can draw off of, I mean, that's what you're hoping to see and our guys to understand as you go into a game one this season, no matter who you play.
This time last year, you kind of knew what you had in Phil Maffa. I'm just kind of curious what your vision is for the running game this year with him gone and kind of having 6 guys that are looking for playing time.
Yeah, I mean, huge opportunity for that room, you know, I mean, for a number of guys. And so, I mean, fall camp's going to be a big part of this. I mean, we kind of know what we have coming out of spring, kind of where guys are at. And I think, like I said, this will be a huge opportunity, you know, these next couple of weeks as we go into the beginning of our season. You know, but I'm excited. I think we've got versatile people in the room. I think we've got a mixture. I think we have a variety of guys that can do some different things. You know, so it's just going to be a little bit of who kind of takes it over and who really performs, you know, when the lights are on. And it's always going to come back to performance. But I like where we're at right now. I really do. I think we got some explosive people. You know, but we got to get the consistency and all of that where it needs to be in this fall camp. So huge opportunity for that room.
As a guy that likes to throw the ball, 2 years ago, obviously, you didn't really know who was going to play receiver every weekend. Now you've got maybe 5 of the best wide receivers in the country on the field at once. How nice is that to have that as a luxury 2 years later?
I mean, it's yeah. I mean, that's what I know, and that's certainly, you know, what we've been striving to get to here in this last couple of years. So, I mean, when you have, especially when you have guys that have played, and there's the trust factor and the trust level with the quarterback, you know, that chemistry is a real thing, and that trust is a real thing, and dependability. And so, you know, those guys are going to continue to get better and better. They really are.
5 more minutes.
I fully expect that, but yeah, I think just having that camaraderie, having that chemistry and dependability with quarterback to receiver and that relationship, I think is such a huge thing.
I know you like recruit your guy, obviously from the beginning at quarterback, but getting Chris Denson, kind of flipping him late, what have you seen maybe throughout the spring and since then that kind of gives you hope for what he can be in the future?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of development that he needs, you know, but I mean, this guy's different, you know, I mean, he's electric. He can certainly do some things when he takes off and runs or creates. But, you know, the best thing about Chris, I was answering their question earlier, is his intangibles. I mean, the guy is poised. The guy wants to be great. He wants to learn, you know, so I think he's made of the right stuff, and he's just going to have to keep chipping away at his development. But there's certainly already been some flashes of this guy's got something to him.
What's a challenge to get new running backs to get faith in the line, knowing that the linemen are going to make their blocks? What do you have to do, or what do the coaches have to do to work those running backs more into it and make them have that faith and confidence to know their linemen got it?
I mean, it's meetings and it's the way you practice. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, they have to do their job. You know what I'm saying? And if they're doing their job at a high rate, if their eyes are where they need to be, if they're pressing and making the cuts that they need to make, holding on to the football, you know, just all the things that they can control, that's going to help build trust between them and the offensive line relationship like you're asking. You know, so I think the first thing is they got to make sure they're doing their job. And that's what we got to coach hard and those guys to understand. You know, but I mean, I think they have a lot of confidence in what we have up front and the experience we have and some of the young guys that are going to help us and create depth this year. You know, I think there's a lot of confidence in that relationship from running back to offensive line.
It's been a lot of buzz for Cade Klubnik, national draft and all that. Do you have to talk about handling all those expectations?
No, I mean mean, he's a mature guy. I mean, he knows what we need to focus on. He knows what's important, as far as being where your feet are and giving everything you have with what you're doing that day and that moment and what we're chasing this season. And as we all know, I mean, a lot of that stuff's going to take care of itself. So, I think that's what he does really well. I think that's a strength of his. But I mean, we do have some general talks here and there of just big picture stuff, but nothing where I'm having to bring him in every week and have to address some stuff like this.